All right, our final type of transformation is everybody's favorite, the horizontal stretch and shrink of our function f of x. So right off the bat, let's just remind ourselves that if we see some number a in the equation, we have to realize that it's a stretch or shrink by the opposite or the reciprocal of a, 1 over a. Because if our original equation is being multiplied by a, our stretch or shrink is dividing by a, which is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So let's go ahead and take a look at an example. We want to start with the function 3x minus 9 and horizontally stretch it by a factor of 6. Okay, so remember that 6 is 1 over a. 1 over a. In the function itself, we're going to need to account for a. So our g of x is equal to f of 1 over 6 x, where the 1 over 6 is our a value. So this is actually a. A is smaller than 1 because our 1 over a is larger than 1. So our stretch itself is a stretch by a factor of 6. Substituting in for f of x, we get g of x is equal to (3) times 1/6 x. So notice that I have taken my original function and right here where x is, I have substituted 1/6 x. Okay, so this 3 is still there. And then we still have our minus 9. All right, so finally, g of x is equal to, well, 3 times 1/6 is going to give me 1/2 and x, and then minus 9. So notice that the only thing that was affected here was the number in front of x, because this was a horizontal transformation. All right, let's look at another one. Let's look at a shrink by a factor of 1/4. Remember that the 1/4 is our 1 over a, our reciprocal. Because that is smaller than 1, it's between 0 and 1, it is a horizontal shrink. But it's a horizontal shrink by 1 over a, the reciprocal. So let's go ahead and write this in function notation. G of x is equal to f of 4x, where 4 is my actual a value that I see in the equation based on my shrink of 1/4. Now, if we substitute 4x where we see x, so right here we have an x, and instead I'm going to write 4x. Everything else stays the same. Remember that horizontal changes only affect x. So we're going to still have a negative out in front. We are still going to have absolute value bars with an 8. But now instead of multiplying 8 by x, I'm multiplying it by 4x. Close the absolute value bars up, and I still have that negative 4 tacked on the end. So now we can get rid of the grouping symbol that's inside the absolute value by multiplying 8 times 4 and saying the negative absolute value of 32x minus 4. Again, that negative sign cannot go into the absolute value bars. You cannot distribute it into the absolute value bars. It has to stay on the outside to indicate our original function was reflected over the x-axis.